Werewolves, not werewolves.
Right. No, it's
It's a very offensive word to call people.
well, unless you're talking about a bundle of sticks. Takes this bundle of sticks. Werewolves. Don't get it.
It's not real.
Nathan, it's not real.
He's just going to take off his gloves.
All right.
Shit, man. What the fuck you do that for?
Hey! Don't swear. We're going to lose it. We're going to lose it. Whoa. Hey, calm down. Calm down.
Should've stuck on my glasses.
Dion. Hey. Do the breathing. Count to 10, mate. That's right. Come on.
Human again. Hold it. Count 10, human again. 10.
It's all right. It's not full moon. Thanks a lot, guys.
I'm Erin Brown.
I'm Luke Higginson.
I'm Eric Trommater.
And this is World Cinema History.
Well, we've had a couple of brushes with fame here at World Cinema History. Last week, the author Joyce Carol Oates retweeted, or is it re-X'd? I don't know what they call it, on the artist formerly known as Twitter, our episode, and we got an extra 3,000 pairs of eyes on us. How many of them actually listened to the episode, I don't know. I don't even know Joyce Carol Oates actually listened to the episode, but thank you, Joyce Carol Oates, if you are listening, which you probably aren't. But Erin, you had a bit of a brush with fame this weekend that has something to do with the movie that we're talking about. Hey, tell us about that.
I went to a comedy show this weekend in St. Louis. It was Rhys Darby, who I might have mentioned a time or two on this podcast as being a particular favorite of mine. He announced the show in, I think, August, and I immediately bought tickets. So I crocheted this hat based on Pabuchan, which is from his series Big in Japan, where he traveled to Japan. They created a mascot, a giant pavlova, big pink pavlova, to represent New Zealand. Pabuchan is particularly cute, so I made the hat based on that creature. I went to the show with my friend Valerie. We carpooled from here and shared a hotel room, and we went to the show, and we both had things to give him, but we didn't know if we'd see him after the show, so I went up to the merch table and asked his opener, Steve Wrigley, who is also hilarious, by the way. I asked if we might see Rhys after the show, if he might be coming out to greet fans, and Steve's like, he might be kind of tired. It's a really energetic show, and he's done 2 of them tonight. And it's like, yeah, I get that. He does not owe us anything. He needs to rest. We get that. And I gave him the hat to give to Rhys, and then we saw the show, and it was amazing. So we waited around a bit after the show to see if he'd come out, and he didn't, because dude needed to rest. So we waited a while and decided, we're not going to see him. We should just go back to the hotel. And we go back to the hotel and walk in the lobby, and he's sitting there. He's sitting in the lobby. Valerie and I stopped and kind of stared at him like a couple of stunned mackerel for a second, like, oh my God, he's right here. I don't know how we started talking again, because I was still a little stunned at this point. I don't know what words happened, but I do know that I said, we just came from your show. So I asked if we could get autographs, because we both had a copy of his book, This Way to Spaceship, which he also had a comedy special of the same name. We both had a copy of the book, and he agreed to give us autographs, and that was really sweet of him. And I gave him my pen, and it's a fountain pen, because I'm a total dork, and he opens it and goes, ooh, fancy, and then signed the autographs for us. And we chatted for a little bit, and then we left, because dude needed to go to his room and rest. And we got upstairs, and we were just talking about how amazing it was that we got to see him. Like, it was such a coincidence. We had no idea we were staying in the same hotel. And then Valerie opens her Instagram, and he's posted a selfie of himself wearing the hat. And we both kind of screamed. Because we didn't believe it. Today, because I needed a whole extra day to just recover, because, a brush with greatness like that, I'm a huge nerd, and this is really my first legitimate celebrity encounter. I sold a guitar magazine to Scott Stapp once. I mentioned that, I think, last week in the podcast. So that doesn't count. I didn't know who he was. Even though I had heard Creed, I was living in Tallahassee. I knew he existed. I just didn't realize he'd come into that particular Barnes & Noble and buy a magazine. So that doesn't count. This one counts because I knew who it was and actually interacted with him in a way where we both recognized we were interacting. Today I posted a picture. Actually, it was his selfie. I reposted it and said, we're living in shitty times. And sometimes you got to relax. And the best way for me is I watch Our Flag Means Death, or I watch one of Rhys's comedy specials, or I listen to The Cryptid Factor, and just people that share this kind of joy and optimism and kindness need to be treasured. And he responded to it and said, I love the hat. And I'm like, ah! So I'm still recovering from that right now because that just happened. So yeah, that's my reading Rhys story.
I saw both posts on my feed, and they were heartwarming. It's very nice. And it's a beautiful hat. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I had to make up the pattern because, like, nobody makes hats like that. So I had to, like, cobble it together from other hat patterns and, like, other crochet item patterns to make the silly thing. But yeah, it was fun.
Just wondering, Luke Higginson, director of Relax, I'm from the Future, starring Rhys Darby, if you'd seen any interactions like that in the 3 joyous weeks that you got to spend with Mr. Darby.
I mean, certainly with the crew, like just an incredibly friendly guy. Every single person on the crew loved him. He was incredibly kind and generous with everyone. We were in Hamilton in the dead of winter on an insanely tight schedule, so I don't think he did a ton of interacting with the public outside the film, and what he did in his own private time, which I was trying to not harass him on. But yes, just an incredibly a warm and kind human being who is very appreciative of everyone.
I love to hear that because he just comes off on social media and interviews as being just a really nice, good human being, you know?
Yeah. A fundamentally good man. Yeah.
And he appears for all of 4 minutes in the film we're going to talk about today.
That's true. But what a 4 minutes.
Yes. A very memorable 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Almost, you would say, an alpha male 4 minutes.
Right.
For sure.
And what is that film, Erin Brown?
That film is What We Do in the Shadows from 2014, and it is one of my all-time favorite films. This week on World Cinema History, we're discussing the 2014 film What We Do in the Shadows, directed by and starring Taika Waititi and Jemaine Clement. It follows a group of vampires who are sharing a flat together in Wellington, New Zealand. With us today is previous guest and director of Relax, I'm from the Future, Luke Higginson. And remember, we're werewolves, not swearwolves, so watch your fucking language. Luke,
hello.
Hello. Thank you for being back. What are your first thoughts on the film?
I love this movie. I loved this movie from the moment it came out. This was my introduction to Taika Waititi, and I sort of became a huge fan of his after that and did a deep dive. And I knew Rhys Darby already from Flight of the Conchords, but he was a highlight of the film for me as well. And this was certainly one of my touch points in being excited to hire him for my film. And yeah, this is a big movie for one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Eric, how about your opening thoughts on What We Do in the Shadows?
It's not a real vampire film, is it?
Yeah, well, that's not what Nicole de Menezes says.
Well, Nicole de Menezes isn't here today, now is she?
Let us do the procession of shame now.
Shame.
Bad vampire.
She thought it was more important to go and make her own movie than talk about an 11-year-old movie on a podcast. So, priorities. I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, a director directing? How dare she?
Outrageous.
I don't know if we can ever forgive her.
What do you mean? What do you mean this isn't a real vampire movie? I'm curious.
Yeah, Eric.
I think it's a satire of vampire movies. It's a satire of found footage movies. It's a satire. It's a mockumentary, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happens to be about vampires. Now, Nicole, in our bonus episode, defended the idea that of the comic vampire film. But when I think of a comic vampire film like, say, Renfield from a couple of years back, or something like that, where
this is a much better movie than that.
This is a 20 times better movie than that, because Renfield is just taking the piss out of vampire tropes, where this is an actual human story about, 3 flatmates. If you were to take the vampires out of this film, it would be just as fun and just as interesting, I think.
I disagree. I think you're describing why it is a vampire movie. It's a real movie that takes its characters seriously despite being so silly, and its characters are vampires.
The vampires are fully created, fully realized. You believe these people, and that's, yeah, they're vampires, but they're believable, even though they're ridiculous. I think that's what, like Luke was saying, that's what makes it work as a vampire film.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this as far as my vampire snobbery goes.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a choice between this and anything but just the best top-of-the-notch Hammer films, I would watch this anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Over that. But not for my vampire snobbish reasons. Not for, not for my Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee reasons.
I'm still interested in the criteria, though. Like, is it just because it's a comedy? Like, what is it that makes it not a vampire movie?
To me, it just happens to have vampires in it. I did not come away from this film thinking in terms of it being part. I'm being a snob. That's my character on this show, by the way, Luke.
I've listened to the show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my character. That's my fucking character. I'm the worst person to watch a movie with. That's what we do, with hilarity ensuing. And normally I have Celia here as a straight man, but he's not.
Yeah, I just disagree with the premise that you could take away the vampirism from it. Like, I think a huge part of it is delving into the things that make the idea of vampirism interesting. Like, it touches on sort of obviously on the idea of immortality, but also on sort of the idea of change over time and sort of character stagnation and an ability to move on. I don't know. Like, I think that most of the things that are interesting thematically about vampire movies are actually addressed in this film.
And I would agree to an extent, but I think if you were to replace vampires with plumbers and use the same eye for detail about plumbing as a fake documentary, this would be just as interesting and use these exact same characters. To me, when I say it's not really a vampire film, in a way that's a compliment, because I don't think it fits into a lot of tropes either. And I'll give you an example. We did a couple of years back for Justine Bateman, the actress and director. People remember her from Family Ties. Used to run Film Discussion, and we did Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein. And Mel Brooks is just taking the piss out of all of the movie tropes in Frankenstein. So that's just a Frankenstein movie with a comic twist. And if I rewatch that, I ain't got nobody, or whatever, it's kind of like watching an old Monty Python movie where I'm just going over the old one-liners and the tropes one more time, and it's more fun to quote back and forth than actually watch. One of the things that, I think I've seen this film 4 times now, it's just as fun to watch each time because you're taking a different character's point of view. This is not something where I'm going to genre it as being in the vampire category, even though I have a great love of vampires. This is just a great comedy, well done. And I think a lot of it has to do with how the film was made. They shot 125 hours of footage. Took a year to edit. How much footage did you shoot for if you're allowed to tell, or relax on from the future, Luke?
That's a good question. Not that much. I don't know. I don't know the full number. I don't think I ever checked.
Well, I have a friend who makes documentaries, and I joked with him about this at one point, and he said, "Isn't that just how movies were made?" And I was like, "No." No, it's not. But yeah, they improv for 125 hours, and then they weren't at the time, obviously, but they became the normal editors for Taika Waititi. Jonathan Woodford Robinson, Yana Gorskaya, and Tom Eagles worked on this for an entire year, had 3 different versions of the film. One entirely comic, one entirely dramatic, and one that was a combination of the two, which is the version that they released, and none of the 3 versions had the same footage in it. For instance, this clip here was from Stu's funeral, spoiler alert, which was cut from the final, and in that dramatic version, they actually had funerals for all of the characters that died.
Tonight, we commemorate Stu. Stu, we couldn't go to your human funeral, because it's in the daytime and because there'll be a priest there and crucifixes and all that kind of stuff.
When they did the funeral for Peter, they actually lost the charred corpse skeleton in the water and had to put out a press release saying if anybody found it, don't worry, it's just a prop. No one was killed. Yeah, they mentioned that they were going to release the 125 hours so that anybody can make their own cut of the movie. I think that would be fun, but way more work than I actually could commit to. Luke, would you want to make your own version?
If I had the time, if I didn't have a child, yes. Like, that would be actually incredibly fun. That would be an amazing exercise. I would love them to do that, even without the ability to do that. I didn't own the film on physical media when Rhys was first floated as a potential star of my film. And I bought it immediately in the hopes that there would be sort of Rhys improv outtakes, because I knew about this sort of treasure trove of deleted material. And I was so bummed that none of it's on the disc that exists. There's some great stuff like the funeral that you mentioned, but Rhys is frustratingly absent, and I'm sure there's footage. I'm sure there's footage of Rhys improving that I want to see. I want to see it.
And I do believe there's a clip of an interview with Anton that's on at least the version that I have, which I think I just bought through iTunes, so it might not be on the DVD.
My name's Anton. I'm a werewolf. My wife puts up with it. She's not happy with it, but it's something that happened after we got married, and so for better or worse, she's with me now.
Mostly worse.
Mostly worse. Once a month, she has her problems, I have mine.
It's just him talking about how turning into a werewolf changed his relationship with his wife and goofy stuff like that. Apparently they had a script, but they wouldn't show the actors. And that's why, even though it does have a plot and it goes in the correct direction to make a story, everything seems so, off the cuff, because it was. They just had to know this is how the scene starts, this is where the scene ends, and just get from A to B.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's how Mike Leigh makes his films. He'll have a script idea. He'll get the people think that there's no screenplay to a Mike Leigh film, but what they don't understand is that he and his cast actually write a very strict screenplay that when film is rolling, when any production cost is going, they are sticking very strictly to, but that in that 6 weeks going up into it, they are literally creating what they are going to make. Which
the script is built out of improv,
which is I think what distinguishes this style from, say, what's his name, the Spinal Tap guy, Christopher Guest, who literally will just leave the camera rolling, have people improv scenes 6 different ways, and then cut together the best. And I think that's why films like this age better. You don't have the lows that you get with the Christopher Guest style. You have the incredible highs of those films, but there's also a lot of that material that just doesn't work. Whereas when you've got 125 hours and you're editing it down to 89 minutes, you're just getting the best of the best. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Speaking of production costs, this film had a very low budget. It was, I believe, $1.5 million. So, Luke, as a director of a really great low-budget film that also had effects and everything, how do you think the budget restrictions affected the final product?
I think they played into their strengths very, very smartly. They used their money extremely well. It was more money than I had, but it's still a very, very small amount of money for what they're accomplishing. And they use it to their, look, I'm sure they wish they had more money, but I do think that it helps the film in a way feel grounded in reality, how sort of lo-fi everything is. And I mean, personally, fantastical stuff grounded in a mundane reality is a trope I never tire of. It's one of my favorite things, and definitely a thing I was chasing for my film as well. But they do it so well, and they set the audience expectations for that stuff, I think, really, really smartly. Like earlier in the film when they say they're going to hit the town vampire style, and it just cuts to them sitting on a bus, is like both a great visual joke and also just a really effective way of grounding these sort of ridiculous characters in a very mundane reality, which then allows you to accept a lot of the other sort of lower budget elements of the film. And they do that very quickly, very early on in a few places. And it's just really smart, and it makes the world feel lived in and believable. And I think it's an incredibly smart use of a low budget, like one that works on its own terms in a beautiful way, I think.
And some of them are pretty kick-ass, like the fight on the ceiling.
About this, okay? We can talk about it. I'll kill you! I'm already dead! Dude, stay back!
All the wire work stuff is great. Like it just works. It just feels, it doesn't look dated the way they fly. It looks kind of funny, but in a great way. They were very smart about which times when it didn't matter if an effect looked shitty because it was for comedy. Like the ultimate example is Jermaine's face on the cat. Like it's
they set that joke up so beautifully
Yeah.
that it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered if they'd had an animated Garfield with Jermaine's face on it. It would have worked because they set that joke up at the beginning with him saying he's losing his powers to transform. He can still transform into animals, but he doesn't get the face right. And so when you see that cat, it's a bit lo-fi, but I just bought it. I was like, yeah, that's hilarious.
Exactly. Yeah. And they just, I just think it's very smart filmmaking. It's like very smart, very clever, very like use what you have filmmaking. I think it's great. And I think it makes the film hold up really well and not feel dated. It's great.
I also love that some of their low budget effects are incredibly simple. Like when Vlad shoots Viago in the leg with an arrow, they use such a simple trick. You see Vlad pull up the arrow and pull it back, and they move the camera around so Jemaine's body is in the way of, you see he's pulling on the bow. You don't see the arrow anymore because that's not important, because he's dropped the arrow and he just lets the bowstring go. And Taika is holding that target, but he's also holding like half of an arrow behind it so that he can drop the target and hold that back half of an arrow against his leg like he's been shot. They do it just so fast. Like you don't see it. And it looks like he actually shot him in the leg with an arrow. And it's just very simple, very easy things.
Old school filmmaking shit. It's the best.
The fighting on the ceiling bit between Nick and Deacon, they built that section of hallway in a giant rotating drum so that it rotated slowly, so that as they were fighting, they would get on the wall and then the ceiling, but the camera was held in one position, so it looked amazing. Because the whole house was built with just flats. The interiors were all just painted flats that were made to look like that. So they could just move those bits of hallway into this giant drum to make it look realistic.
Yeah, suck on it, Christopher Nolan.
Their production designer, Rob Vincent, was also part of Our Flag Means Death, which is why that show looked so good too.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Had to throw that out
for
there.
For those playing bingo at home, that was and Aaron refers to Our Flag Means Death. So congratulations to all who just hit World Cinema History Bingo.
You win the prize of knowing you won. That's your prize. But yeah, I mean, I could go on for hours about how much I love how they made this film with minimal budget, because that was kind of my inspiration for my short Stephen Luby, which isn't anything like as good as this. It's not amazing, but I just used I only have one camera, so let's pretend my lead actor is holding the camera.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They never really fall back on that as an excuse in this film, do they?
Yeah, sort of yes and no, I think. The whole premise is they're being followed by a documentary film crew, so it doesn't have to look cinematic like a big screen blockbuster kind of thing. It looks like a documentary. And so they don't have to, they don't have to have big special effects. They just can work in these low-key things as the film goes along, and it works really well, I think.
Yeah, and you can use the camera work to hide certain things, like with the werewolf stuff at the end, which I think looks great. And it looks great because they show exactly the amount that they can show to make it look great.
Well, it's like Jaws, you know. If we actually watched them transform, like say The Howling or
American Werewolf,
Yeah, or something like that. That would have taken the joy out of it.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because that scene's not about the werewolves, it's about stew.
Stew, 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 stew.
Stew. Love Stu. I was gonna ask, just as a joke, who's your favorite character and why is it Stu?
Well, that's the best non-performance I've seen in a film since Vittoria De Sica in General Della Rosa, where you just have somebody giving a absolute non-performance all the way through. And because he's being surrounded by all these people acting, you just naturally are just like, yeah, that's my guy. I identify with, because he's not wearing a ton of makeup and emoting, like and constantly smiling at the camera. And so when everybody's like, yeah, no, we like Stu. I like Stu too.
Stu's great.
Quiet guy, keeps himself. Taught him how to buy stuff on eBay or
on Facebook. We can poker.
Bidding. Yeah.
Dark bidding, yeah.
Yeah.
Just leave me to do my dark bidding on the internet.
What are you bidding on?
I'm bidding on a table.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, Luke, I got permission to use anything but the music for this, because did you know that music group owns the music for this film?
Wow. Good times.
And they won't return my emails because them.
Well, actually, I'd love to talk briefly about that song, which is, I think, such an unbelievable find for this movie, and like obvious why they used it moving forward in the TV show as the theme song. Yeah. It's such a great song, and it's so like perfect for the show. It's so haunting and creepy, and the lyrics are so evocative. Like it I was shocked when I learned it was a real song written in 1966. Like it's so perfect for both the movie and the show. I love it so much.
What is it called? We're Dead?
It's called You're Dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is where we would be playing that song if we were allowed to.
Sure. Yeah. Listener, just pull up a streaming service and play it while you listen to us talk. It's good.
Yeah, it's an amazing song.
It is.
And boycott so music.
Yeah, definitely don't pirate the song. Don't do that. Don't do that at all.
Speaking of pirating, Erin, one of the problems with this film actually was that it lost a boatload of money. It was one of the early ones to lose just tons and tons of money because it wasn't available yet in the United States, and the pirating websites were filling in the blank, and they actually had to raise a Kickstarter to raise enough money to get this to tour the United States because everybody was watching it on pirating. This was, of course,
about that.
Yeah, I remember that at the time. Yeah,
that sucks because, like, I'll say, screw the studios, but I want to support Taika and Jemaine. I love them. So, that really sucks for them, not for the studios, but for them personally,
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was for them personally. They actually had to raise the money themselves through that Kickstarter to get this into the United States. Robert Redford, may he rest in peace, who died recently, his Sundance Film Festival showed this, but they had no way of distributing it in the United States. Now, remember, a year later, Taika Waititi is shooting a $200 million Thor film for Marvel. Yeah. And they wouldn't put up $500,000 to distribute this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's crazy, and the studio fucked up. Like it's bad. I will say, like, it sucks about any money that they lost from it, but like I do think that like exploded all their careers. Like it lots of people saw that movie at the time. Everyone that I knew was eager to see what those people did next when that movie came out. It was a pretty big deal, at least in my personal circle.
Yeah, once I heard about it, I had to watch it. And for some reason, I didn't get all the way through it the first time. I got to about the scene where they were having the dinner with Nick, and Nick got grabbed by Peter.
Break!
Oh, no. Peter got him.
Poor guy.
For some reason, I stopped there and didn't get back to it for a while, and then I went back and rewatched it and just immediately was in love with this movie. It's seriously one of my favorite movies of all time, now that I've seen it all the way through multiple times now. Like I could put that movie on any time and just be perfectly happy to watch it. But I also love that.
Do you remember why you stopped there before? Was it just like circumstance, or like were you freaked out at that moment, or did you decide you didn't like it in that moment? Like, why did you stop?
I think I was tired. I think it was getting late and I was tired. I was like, I'll just watch this later, and then never got back to it. Yeah. So then when I finally did get back to it, I was like, shit, how did I even stop this the first time through? This is amazing. I think I just didn't quite get it the first time. I didn't dislike it, but just wasn't holding my interest enough and I was sleepy. But I absolutely love it now. And I love that it's gotten some spin-offs. It's got the TV series, and it's also got another series called Wellington Paranormal. And
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I think it's on HBO Max. And it follows the cops, O'Leary and Minogue, and their various adventures with the paranormal. And there is an episode where they bring back Anton. So Rhys Darby is in one episode.
Oh, no way. Oh,
yeah.
I gotta watch that.
Yeah. I know the werewolves are in other episodes too. I haven't seen the entire series, but I definitely had to watch that one because, it's Rhys. Oh God, I was going to make another point and it's left already.
Well, let's talk. Why don't we talk about the performances, and then maybe that'll kickstart your memory, because I think that's a very important thing to talk about, especially given my notoriously low opinion of one of these people as an actor.
I'm curious to hear about it, because to me there is a clear weak link in the cast, and I don't know if it's the person that you think. So we should talk about it.
I think they're all great. I love all of them. Actually, I would probably consider Nick to be the weak link if there was one.
That's interesting.
Let me tell you who I think's best. Who I think is the best actor. Obviously, I think Stu Rutherford as Stu does the best job, but he's not actually acting. So that's he's just he maybe have been he for all I know was the tech guy.
Okay, so actually, let me tell you about Stu. I have to tell you about Stu because I wanted to say this before, and then we changed the subject. Stu is actually a former roommate of Taika's, and he would pop up in his movies. He was actually in Boy as the prison guard that got a spoon through his eye.
Oh, right.
That was
okay.
Stu. But he actually does work with software. The job he describes as Stu in the film is his actual job. And he didn't know he's going to be such a big character. He thought they would just need him for one or two scenes, and he would just kind of show up and be there and then leave again. And they made him a major character, and everybody loves Stu.
Yeah.
And he's on Twitter, and I don't go there anymore, but I used to. And if you mention
I
Stu,
wonder if he was the inspiration for the electrical vampire in the TV version. Who's a software
Colin
engineer.
Robinson.
Oh, the energy vampire.
Because he's not in this movie.
Maybe.
All the other characters seem to be, but he seems like if Stu were a vampire.
I don't think so, because Mark Proch has done a character like that before as a joke. He would show up on like the local news segments playing this character that, like, in one he could do yo-yo tricks, as like he was raising money for troubled youth with his yo-yo tricks, and then he would fail at it, but he'd be on the local news in character, knowing it was a prank. It was a big prank on the local news station. So I think they based that off of the kind of character he'd been playing before. He also played a similar character in Better Call Saul in the first season, I think, as the guy that had to sit on a pie.
Oh, I remember that. Gosh, yeah.
That's my IMDb brain is info dumping.
Funny, you had to remind me of that from Better Call Saul, but I remembered the electric vampire. Go figure.
So performance-wise, I thought they were all great, honestly.
But of course you did.
Well, yeah, of course I did. I love them all. They're wonderful. But Luke, who were you going to say was the weak link? I would love to know.
Yeah, to me, and I don't want to badmouth, I'm sure he's done other great stuff, and he's been good, and he certainly does. No one ruins the movie for me. I love this movie, and it's very good, and but to me, the guy who plays Deacon is significantly, like, of the three original vampires, Jemaine is so funny, and is, like, understands his character so well as, like, a, like, former medieval pervert warlord, like, slightly softened over hundreds of years. I think it's such a like great specific joke that he understands perfectly and like just nails the character. I think Taika is actually very, very strong in the movie. I think he's very funny. I think he plays the emotion of it very well. I think the scene where he like tries to wear the necklace for a while and like has to take it
that
off,
is
and he's
so
like,
good.
and him being like, "That's the longest I can wear it." Like, I think there's some real emotion to that in a way that I find very like funny and sweet. And Deacon I think he has the least grasp on an accent of the three people that are doing accents, and I feel like his thing just isn't as well defined. And even Nick, I think Nick is really good, actually, the guy who plays him, because he's just playing him as a sort of a like regular lad who gets turned. And that's also a bit that just, I think he gets what that is.
He's a satire of those. He's a satire of those.
Yeah.
Those what the glittery, what were they? Twilight. Yeah.
Yeah, but he
Even
doesn't have
says
the like
Twilight.
aching romanticism of those either. Like he's kind of just like, yeah, he's a regular British lad that just gets turned, and he's charming. And yet to me, Deacon and Stu is Stu. But to me, Deacon, I think it's that he has the least grasp of what his character's thing is. Like they're like, he's the bad boy, but like that's I think he's the one character that doesn't cohere as well as the others.
And Jonathan Brugh has no charm in this.
Is that the name of the actor who plays Deacon?
Yeah, he has just absolutely no charm whatsoever. There's this wink at the camera thing that he's doing that just seems like, I'm better than the material, And he's never making eye contact. He doesn't do any of the, and so I'm not saying it's a bad performance because he's a bad actor, because he actually does a really good job in Thor: Love and Thunder as the god that gets his head cut off. I mean, he's been good before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is. I think that it's just something they were trying that didn't work, which was to differentiate him from the rest of the crew somehow, or the rest of the other four.
I just think they didn't develop a clear enough, distinct character for him, and I think he struggled a bit with it. But like I said,
this is a film that gets by on its charm, and he is so charmless throughout it that you almost want to skip over his scenes to get to the others, because they are so much because they're lovable in a way,
especially the others.
You're a little harsher than me on him, but I to me that is the clear the lower point of a group of fantastic performances.
Agreed, and I'm the guy who says that Taika Waititi is not a good actor, and I still stand by that. But I stand by that. I objectively speaking, his performance in Free Guy was a bad performance.
I'll agree with that.
Objectively speaking, his performance in Boy, while better, was the weakest part of that film, which is a great film.
That's where you lose me. Me.
I'm just saying.
You're misusing the word objectively.
It's just pure. It's just pure line reading. He does all the way through. Go back to our episode. We're not going to have this argument again. If you want to have this argument again, go back and listen to the episode, because we already had this. But anyway, he's great here.
He is great here.
He is absolutely great here, and he's doing the same thing that I objected to in Boy, which is line reading. But that's perfect for this dandy character, because he is so refined and so anal about everything that you feel like he would think about his words and line read that way. And he leans into it. If you watch the short film that they did first, back in, I think it was like 2004 or what have you, and see how his performance really matures. Because in that short film, he really is. It's just so incredibly dry. And that was my problem with the Boy performance, is that he's very dry in that film. Well, again, I don't think he was bad in Boy. I just thought he was the worst part of what was a great film. Same with Jojo Rabbit. I think he was the worst part of what was a great film. But when you see how he matures this character and matures his performance in it, and this is the first time I saw him create the modern day, what Taika Waititi, the person that we see in Our Flag Means Death, or I'm Ford and I'm Peter Brooks, you know, and that. And this is where I really think he turned the corner. And then, of course, whoever just directed him in Free Guy just decided to let him just take a dump all over that movie.
I think that's a Zach Levy problem. Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree about Deacon, because the first time or two I watched it, I didn't really care for Deacon either, but he really grew on me. And the characters are actually based on other vampire characters. So Vlad is based on Gary Oldman's Dracula.
Yep.
Viago is Lestat, or one of the characters from there. And then
wait, not Lestat,
Deacon,
probably. I think the other one.
The Brad Pitt one. The other one.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the movie. So Interview with the Vampire. He's from that. And because I never saw the movie because I don't like vampire movies apparently. So and then Deacon
not
was
real ones.
And then Deacon was based on The Lost Boys. So I think that's why he was so obnoxious, because he was meant to be obnoxious. But I also, what I love about Deacon, as the story goes on, he actually does gradually change. He has a bit of a character arc. So at the end, when they think Stu is dead and he's trying to comfort Nick, and we'll play the clip.
But this is what happens when you're a vampire. You have to watch everyone die. Your mother and father, all your friends, sometimes brutal, like slipping and falling onto a giant spike, or falling asleep in an autumn pile of leaves, and having some of them block your windpipe, or making the simple mistake of fashioning a mask out of crackers, being attacked by ducks, geese, swans, or simply dying of old age. But even old age is brutal. Watching your friends grow old, they can't piss, they say stupid things and their brains go and they can't remember anything. And then one day they can't even remember who you are. And you wish they were dead. And then they do die. No. If I know Stu, this was probably the way he wanted to go. Disemboweled by werewolves. Blood and guts splayed onto the trees. His face torn to shreds.
Okay, so in the performance, he's trying to make the actor break and start laughing, but the character believes he's actually giving comfort to a guy that he's hated this whole time. And I think that shows, character growth, and in a way that you don't expect from a goofy comedy, but to me it works. So
yeah, that's one of his best moments for sure. I think he's good in that scene. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think he's deliberately obnoxious.
And it's a well directed scene all around.
Yeah.
Everything about that scene is just perfect because it sets you up for a laugh that comes late. And I think that's the perfect kind of humor in a comedy where you're just used to set up joke, set up joke, set up joke, set up joke. You get the setup, and then you're like, oh, he's right for a moment. And then he hits you with the, tying the chips as a mask around your face and being pecked to death by ducks. Or my father went the same way, but I still found it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Deacon, when he told his story about being a Nazi vampire, and he mentions, and the Nazis lost that war. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious, and
it's a good joke.
Yeah. And I think it might have been the director's commentary or a different interview where apparently that joke didn't land as well with American audiences, and. But it's very much a Kiwi sense of humor thing. It's also like British humor too, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I love things like Monty Python and Blackadder and all that. So, Luke, something I wanted to ask you. How do you think how much of a difference do you think there is between, like, say, Kiwi humor and Canadian humor, or Canadian humor and American humor? Like, do you think there's much difference, or what differences do you see, if there are any?
Yeah, I mean, Kiwi humor for sure, I think, is its own thing. Am I allowed to say Kiwi as a non-New Zealander?
They call themselves Kiwis,
yeah.
so I think, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Erin's obviously an expert on this because she's spent
exactly
tens and tens of hours exclusively watching Kiwi television.
See,
you've got me doing it. It's addictive.
They call themselves Kiwis. I think it's fair.
Yeah, they obviously have this sort of the very sort of dry but silly thing, which is great, and I love it. Canadian humor is I think hard to pin down because so many of our best just like go to the States and just
we keep
do that.
Your guys.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Certainly, I think a lot, if to the extent there is a Canadian sense of humor, it's definitely sort of modest and self-effacing is, I think, a lot of it.
That makes sense.
But yeah, like I said, there's a rich, wide variety of Canadian humor, but just a lot of it just travels down to the States. So that's we.
But also, it's like if you compare Kids in the Hall to the Red Green Show, those are not the same.
Yeah, but both Canadian.
They're both Canadian.
Interesting. If we're talking about comparisons between the Kiwis, I'm sorry, I'm just in love with being able to say this empowerment now. And the Canadians. One thing that I talked to a few filmmakers who've gone over and made films in New Zealand and also worked in Canada, they said was that they'd never seen and probably filmed as many different places as they could find tax breaks, but they'd never find two countries that were so interested in getting people from foreign countries to film there and so disinterested in making films of their own.
Yeah.
As far that they said was a similarity between the two countries.
Yeah, I think that's very astute. I would agree with that. We struggle with that. We struggle with our own identity in a way that is frustrating.
The last thing I do kind of want to pull this to a close because I don't want it to go longer than the movie, and B, I want to save Luke up for his Kurosawa episode in November.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's gonna be super fun.
I don't want to. I don't want to tap all his power. I did want to have a conversation about, since we have you and you happen to have a film that is going through the whole streaming thing right now, about the difference between making a profit on a movie in 2014 when this came out and now, where you could have a film get viewed by as many people as saw this in theaters on streaming, and you'll get a check for $30 for the exact same number of views.
Right.
And how the hell does anybody make movies anymore that aren't big blockbusters?
It's rough, man. It's really hard. And they, at least when they came out, there was both some semblance still, some tattered remains of a DVD market, which is just completely gone now, and there was the streaming boom since. They definitely, I'm sure they made some money when those few years when a million streaming services launched and you could license your stuff for some money. But now all these companies have learned that there's no profit in that. And so like the contraction in the last, I'd say like 5 years has been 4 years maybe, has been intense. And it's really, really difficult to make money with a movie now. I wish I had something nice or good to say about that, but it's rough. It's very hard right now.
Well, and that's why now AI is taking over.
Ugh.
Because you're not going to see a lot of comedies coming out because AI is
going
to pick them.
What about all those hilarious AI videos that I see on the internet that are so funny? What if
Yeah.
fucking Pikachu was in this movie that you saw once? Hilarious.
Yeah, those make about $30 as well, I believe. Just from speaking as somebody who has a YouTube channel. But all joking aside, though, if you wanted to make a Hollywood comedy right now, AI is going to throw it out if it won't sell in China.
Right.
Or they're going to ruin it to make it so it can sell in China. And of course, you make a film that can appeal to everyone, it's going to appeal to no one. So comedy is just, forget about seeing that in a movie theater anymore. It's just never going to happen.
Well, I mean,
I think it's going to change.
Yeah, there's waves. There's there are still comedies in theaters. There will still be comedies in theaters, but and there are phases of time when no one is interested in comedies, and then there's a slight resurgence in interest, and that happens. So like it's not as cut and dry as that, but yes, it is difficult. And comedies have always had more of a challenge, sort of selling overseas. That's always been a thing. So yeah, it is. I would be lying if I said it wasn't a little bleak, but I also do have faith that I think the quote unquote death of the comedy is a little overstated. People are going to keep making funny movies.
People always need to laugh. People always need to have something to bring their spirits up, especially right now. I know that things are really, it's looking bleak as far as AI and everything is happening, but with the way the world is right now, we need stuff to actually make us happy and make us laugh. So I don't think comedy is going to die out because humans just need that.
And for the record, 0 AI was used in the making of this episode. But you guys knew that because unfortunately, if we'd used AI, it would have been better. But anyway.
No, it would not have been. It absolutely would not have been better.
No, because it would have taken all the spaces out of everything that we said and had us all talking like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an improvement. AI sucks. AI has purposes like if you want to like skim an article and find certain words, but you can't create with it. All it does is steal from actual artists.
Except if it skims an article, you have no guarantee that those words are actually in there if it's just trying to tell you what you want to hear.
That's true too. That's why it needs to be in like, if you're going to use it at all, it's like for scientific purpose or something like that, something that actually makes things easier, but is also accurate. It doesn't create art. And, it doesn't create literature. It doesn't create films. It just gives you garbage and keeps jobs from people that deserve to have the jobs, So fuck AI.
And,
what's really
the energy of several small cities. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
And what's really pissing me off is the retired directors who are just putting out AI slop now. Like Paul
Who's
Schrader.
doing that?
Paul Schrader.
Jesus. Yeah, that's a bummer.
He had this AI slop picture that he made of Mishima arriving at the airport and him picking him up from the airport because he made the Mishima life in three chapters and I was like, too, Paul, but you see that's the thing, they're retired, they're out of the industry now, they don't give a fuck, it's just, I got mine, Jack, well, yeah, because when you wrote Taxi Driver, you could make a movie for $1 million and have it play at Cannes, they don't do that, it's a different world now. Where I agree a lot more with the generation whiners than most people of my age, it does seem to be an attitude by the people who are really embracing AI of, well, we've got everything that we want out of the economy. Why do we have to leave anything for you kids?
Right. It's infuriating. So we have to support the actual creators, the actual artists, find the people that are actually doing real things and put our money there to encourage people to keep making real human art. And
which is why we have people like Luke Higginson on the show.
Yes, exactly.
And encourage you to watch films like his, a wonderful comedy, Relax, I'm from the Future, and listen to our episode with Luke Higginson, breaking that episode down.
So, Luke, what are your final thoughts on this episode?
Great movie. See it if you haven't. I love it. It's really funny. It's really smart. And yeah, I think if you're interested in making low budget films, especially, this is an essential watch. It's sort of one of the best examples I can think of in modern filmmaking of sort of using your limitations in a way that is really smart and elevates the material. And just a great movie.
And where can we find you on social media?
You can find me. I'm Borrowed Time Media on Instagram, and I'm Luke Higginson on Blue Sky, I'm pretty sure. And unfortunately, I'm still on Twitter at Luke Cuts Video.
Hey,
and
awesome.
Relax, I'm from the Future is available on DVD, and give it a watch.
Yes, it's amazing. Everybody needs to watch this film.
And some place called Amazon has it too, but I mean, whoever heard of that?
And I bought it off of iTunes once it was available, so yeah. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Eric, any final thoughts? And where can we find you on social media?
Well, I'm going to say you guys have convinced me. This is a vampire movie. So you were right. You were right, and I was wrong. So yeah, good job. This is a vampire movie, and I would put this in the hallowed halls of Universal and of Hammer, but I wouldn't classify it anymore the way I did with, say Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which, by the way, underrated masterpiece. But I don't think we should talk about this film merely as being a low-budget film. It's simply a great film that happened to have been made on a low budget.
Completely
There's
agree.
nothing low budget about this film. This, I would say, instead of low budget, I would say this is a punk rock film.
Yes,
and an austere film. And a great film. And you can find me at ETROMMATER at the artist formerly known as Twitter. If I mispronounced anything and you want to correct me, if you feel that I'm full of shit, or if you just want to call me a nerd.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. And you can find me on Blue Sky at Toad Puppy, and you can find me on YouTube at Pizza Horse Productions. Also, you can go to ko-fi.com/World Cinema History. We've got all of our episodes on there and bonus content. If you really like the bonus content, you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month, and you'll get extra content every time we release an episode. So please go over there and send us some money so we can keep this podcast free.
We have an extra episode from documentary filmmaker Ernesto, a.k.a. Todd Morales, about his documentary War of the Flea that's going to be going up on that website this week. And we also are going to have a brief interview with a director named Luke Higginson, who directed a film with Rhys Darby called Relax, I'm from the Future. Looking forward to that one. Well, I mean, if he shows up.
Yeah, it's an iffy thing. We don't know if he'll be there.
Hey, Erin, great job hosting. Thank you very much. Thanks, Luke Higginson. Thanks, everybody, and we hope to see you next time.
You will not remember the last hour and a half of what you have just seen. You will forget the contents of this movie.